Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm joined by the spectacular champ, Amanda Lino. Amanda, thank you very much for your time and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's only a pleasure. Amanda, what I like to do with fighters is just to create a bit of a profile. If you could just give us a bit of insight into how you actually got into MMA.
So I just moved down to Ballito, which is now my hometown, and I wanted to focus on something, get fit, but I wanted to try something different. My brother at the time was training in MMA, and a lot of people have been attracted to the fitness aspect of MMA and what it offers because it's something different, it's high intensity. So I was pretty drawn to that, and my brother, invited me down to a small gym called Ballito Bulldogs that he was training in at the time, and I went in, gave it a try, and I was really attracted to, the high intensity and the physical side of it. So it just kind of stuck. I was a natural brawler as well. So yeah, it was just something that I really enjoyed. And then from there, went with it. It was purely just for fitness in the beginning, but, I was really attracted to the physical side of it. And, my passion grew from day one.
Okay. And from there, you had quite a long amateur career and a pretty good one at that. If I'm not mistaken, you went about 6-0 somewhere around there to eventually go and compete in Las Vegas at the Amateur World Championships. What was that like, competing with the world's best amateurs in Las Vegas?
Well, I think at the time in South Africa, it was MMA for females was so small. We didn't have a future at the time. We couldn't make a career of it. So, to be able to go overseas and compete internationally was a huge step for something that I was hoping to make out of a career at the time. That it wasn't something that we could make a career out of in South Africa. So to go over and test my skills on an international level, where I come from a country at the time where it was so small, was massive. I gained a lot of experience over there. Competing against girls, for instance, females from the States where, obviously with the UFC, it's massive over there. So you got girls that have been training and, obviously have the experience. So for me, it was a big step, not only for a girl coming from South Africa, but for me as a game changer for my career. Coming back then from the States, I obviously got offered a contract with EFC, and then EFC turning international. I think it was the end of that year as well, was also quite a good thing for me because I'd already been competing on an international base. So it was really an eye-opener, and it was something that, I was thinking about going and making a career out of MMA, and then I was given the opportunity to. So it was massive for me at the time.
Okay. There's just some interesting things I picked up on there. Firstly, you spoke about thinking about starting out an MMA career. When did that light bulb switch on for you? When did you say, okay, there really is something here and I really can make a career out of this?
Well, I think it was more of following a passion. At the time, we didn't have the option to make a career out of it. So even if I wasn't going to make a career out of it, it would have been something that I would have continued to be learning and growing in the sport. So, maybe the wrong word there was using a career. It was saying I'm going to create a career out of it because we weren't, at that stage, we didn't have that thought process as a female, thinking we could make a career. Although I've always been pretty hot-headed, so I think, for me, I remember going back to EFC, the first EFC that they had at Durban. I went down to, I think it was at the Wave House, and I went down to go support the fighters, and I saw Graham, and I was like, listen, you really need to consider having females in EFC. I'll happily sign up. Like, I'll make it happen for the females. Like, I'll put on a show. Trust me. So I was determined to make it a career. So, I think that it wasn't so much me going, it's going to be a career. That passion was my drive.
Sure.
And then I was like, look, if I love the sport so much, I need to make something happen because I don't want to be, putting my passion aside and working a job that I won't be happy, doing. I want to, live my passion. So I think passion was my drive, really.
100%. And just in there, you spoke about going to speak to Graham Cartmel and promise to put on a show. What was the atmosphere like for female MMA athletes at that time when you were first starting out as an amateur and looking to turn pro?
You know, it was pretty much, it was different back then because, you know, I think you still get it now. I think, you know, a lot of people aren't used to seeing females being so physical, and you do get, you know, the odd comments where, you know, females shouldn't be doing the sport or, you know, whatever. But, you know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion and, you know, each to their own. You know, I do it because I love it. I'm not worried about the next person who has their own opinion. But I think, you know, it was something that was new, so people weren't used to it. I think it was different. I think the atmosphere was different. But at the same time, people were like, you know, and you get it often, you still get it now, where people are like, no, we don't want to see two girls hitting each other. And then they watch a fight, and they're like, that was amazing. You know, it was better than the men's fight.
Sure.
So there's always mixed feedback because people aren't used to it. So, you know, people are always scared of things that they're not sure of or they don't know. So, you know, don't judge until you've witnessed a fight or until you know more of a background in a female athlete. So, you know, still to this day, you're going to get that feedback where people are like, no, MMA, you know, females shouldn't be fighting in a cage or whatever it may be. But, you know, everyone's entitled to their own thing. You know, I do it because I love it. And, yeah, I'm not going to stop.
No, 100%. I think MMA is involved in such a way where I don't think we should really even be having a conversation between should there be females and shouldn't there be, and do you like it and don't you like it. I think at the end of the day, it's just a different weight class and a different category of fighters. You know what I mean? Female MMA fighters are up there with some of the best athletes in the world. So, you know, I understand what you're saying, but I'm hoping that the evolution of MMA has eradicated those naysayers by this time already. I think guys
yeah,
have,
look, we like MMA being the fastest growing sport. You know, it's obviously changed the mindset, and you know, people are entertained by both female and male athletes. So I think the mindset now is very different. But I think in the beginning, you know, we're lucky to have had in the UFC Ronda Rousey and Arjuna Grana, who have, you know, who started to change the perspective of females being in the cage. So I think, you know, the mindset has changed definitely since then. But we're talking about when we first got into the cage in South Africa, it was so small. I think there was only four athletes female athletes competing. So it was very, very small. So the mindset wasn't like it is today, but you're lucky to have a sport that is such a fast-growing sport. And, you know, the fans have obviously, you know, enjoyed the female athletes, and, you know, sometimes enjoy them more than watching the male athletes compete.
Yeah, sure. I've always said that in a lot of cases with female athletes is that you find they tend to be a lot more technical, and I could never understand it until I really asked the question. And someone said to me that you must remember for a female athlete, especially this sort of generation, like your generation, never really had too many female training partners, you know, so you were always a little bit smaller and in some cases a little bit weaker than like a, you know, 80, 90 kilo plus guy. So technically your generation, if I can put it like that, female athletes have developed sound techniques and are technically just amazing, you know. And, you know, enthusiasts will always love to watch your females because you get to pick up on the especially the striking. I think the striking is extremely technical. The ground stuff becomes extremely technical, and I think as the game evolves and people understand more, they start to appreciate these kind of things more, you know. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, that's exactly what you said. You know, we've had to rely on more of the technique as opposed to power and strength.
Sure.
And I mean, I run at my gym. I run ladies kickboxing fitness classes, and, you know, you can just see it when I'm running an all ladies class as opposed to a mixed class, or, you know, training with the guys. Women are very, very technical, and they want to know. You know, they're always asking questions on why we do this, and, you know, always questioning what we're doing and why we're doing it. Whereas when you tell, for instance, a male to hit a bag, he's just going to hit it. He's not going to answer questions. He's like, I just want to hit the bag. So even in teaching and watching ladies do fitness classes, you know, with a bit of boxing and kicking, you can automatically see that technique comes behind it, because they just, you know, we're very nosy. We want to know everything behind it before we do something. So it becomes very technical. But again, you know, competing, especially for me, I've always been training with with men only, or in a male-dominated sport, I was always the only girl in the gym, so I had to rely heavily on technique as opposed to power. I'm lucky that I do have the power, so in the beginning I could use a bit of power, but training with guys that are like 115 kgs, I quickly had to rely on technique and learn very, very quickly if I was gonna stand toe to toe or grapple with a 115 kg man. So you do rely on technique quite a lot.
No, definitely. I just wanted to just touch back onto your career. What was it like having obviously had to go somewhat of a more difficult road, if I can put it like that, being a female athlete, going to Las Vegas and putting in all these hours, and I'm sure there was quite a cost to yourself to go to Las Vegas as an amateur, to eventually being signed by the EFC. What was that emotionally like? Was it almost like I don't know how to say it, but kind of like a justification for all your hard work and all the effort you had put in, and what was it like to finally be on the big stage as it was with the EFC?
I'm very, very lucky that I live in a town where they're very, very supportive. The Leeds community backed me when I was an amateur, from my early stages. So, I was supported in the town, and they all got together and sent me over to Las Vegas. So I was lucky to have them backing me so that I could, make, I would say, my dreams come true in my path to becoming a professional athlete. So I'm very, very grateful and very lucky that I've got such a good community behind me. And like you say, at the time, you don't actually realize what's really happening until, that last moment when you realize you've just won the golds and worlds, and it kind of just, I could almost say, my last fight now competing for the belt as well for the first ever female flyweight championship it's one of those moments where you really can't describe the feelings that you're going through, because you put in so much hard work, and, emotionally, it takes a lot out of you, physically it takes a lot out of you, but also I lose a lot on my business because I take a lot of time out of my business. So I've got to take, steps back before I can achieve, what I need to be achieving. So, it's really tough. Like, for instance, in a fight, I'll take off a lot of time and hours out of work. So my business takes 2 knocks back. But, after that, I can then pick up my business again. So you're constantly moving backwards to move forwards. But, those sacrifices are so worth it when you win the fight, and, you can kind of, celebrate all those sacrifices that you make. So, don't get me wrong, for 1 minute, the sacrifices are very difficult, but it's well worth it in the end. And, I'm lucky to have the team I have around me. I'm not the only one putting in the hours. My teammates are putting in the hours, my coaches, my family, my fiance, my friends, they back me 100%. So it's not just how many hours I give up, it's also those around me who give up time and invest in my career and invest in me learning and growing on a daily basis. So, I'm grateful, but I think I've got into a stage where it wasn't really about those moments where you're winning. It was more about taking in every day. So that was the nice thing about my last fight, especially for such a big one. I think more the build-up towards the fight was a lot more exciting for me, because I was taking in every day and appreciating every day that I was given, as opposed to actually holding the belt. So I think my journey on the last fight was a lot different as opposed to when I was an amateur, because those big moments like winning the world at the IMMA were, those big moments were like, oh my God, this is everything. And you forget about the process that leads up. Whereas now it's more about everyday, progress and the learning behind the actual, just that one moment, because, the hours that you put in on a daily basis are, and your training camp before that is a lot harder than the actual fight itself. So, if you can get through that and you can come out on top, then, that is actually, the more of the gold than the actual gold itself, if I can put it that way.
No, absolutely. It's such a funny thing, because I was working towards a question to ask you, have you, and I think you've answered that beautifully there. It's the funniest thing about any sport, and I think it's so prevalent in MMA especially, is, you know, like we see this, there's this famous picture of you now on your knees after winning your fight against Jacqueline Trossier, and it's just raw power, pure emotion pouring out, you know what I mean? And like for a lot of people, they'll see that, okay, yes, you won the belt, and you're emotional about it, and it's a great achievement, but it's such a strange thing in MMA, because it's not just the camp for that fight, you know what I mean? It's the whole process from the very first day you walked into the gym to becoming the first ever female champion. It's the everything in between. I mean, like nobody will ever really truly understand your journey, you know. And it's have you ever stopped and like pinched yourself and looked back to, given thought to like the first day you walked into a gym with your brother and thought, you know, one day I'll be international champion in one of the biggest organizations in the world, and all of the stuff that has happened in between?
Yeah, it's yeah, you kind of sit back and you got to pinch yourself, because you actually, I mean, we were actually talking about it with my coach Rodney. We actually just before the phone call, I was doing a sparring session. And he looked at me and he was like, you know, from the girl that I knew that asked, because I think it's about it'll be 3 years now since I've been with Rodney. And he looked at me and was like, since the girl I sparred with that first time to who you are today is completely different. He's like, you don't even see it, because we don't. You know, as an athlete, you're always going, oh, I need to be better, I need to be better, I need to be working on this. Because every session you go to, you're working on a little aspect of your game. And you actually, sometimes you need to just take a step back and go, look where I've come from. Like, it's incredible, because you do, you know, we're human. We forget about where we've come from, and we forget about how different and fast we grow, and we're always wanting more. We're always like, no, we need to be better now, we need to be better now,
Sure.
as opposed to just taking a step back and appreciating that, you know, we have come a long way, and we have reached goals that we wanted to reach. And, you know, sometimes I say that to myself. I'm like, we've got a saying, you know, you need to take it day by day, and you need to just being appreciating every day that you're growing, and, you know, getting through every day and doing what you need to do on a daily basis. So, you know, my partner always says to me, she's like, you know, don't worry about tomorrow, just get through today and do what you need to do today. And I think that was my process going through to that title fight, was just appreciating every day and just kind of taking in your daily your progress, and, you know, getting better on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to just waiting for that one big moment, because that one big moment is all those little moments put together.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. What I want to do next is just take a little look at what lies in front of you. It's great details to hear about how you got to here now. Obviously, you're the champion now. 2018, I have it on very good authority that you're going to be defending your title in Durban. I sat with Graham Cartmel, the last podcast we did, which came out on Wednesday. He mentioned Rizlan Zoak will be your first title defense. Well, like I said in the article I wrote, is that it's not set in stone. None of these fights are really set in stone that haven't really been announced yet, but these are the kind of things that are being thrown around. What do you feel about your first title defense, and are you guys talking about possible opponents?
Well, look, there's obviously talk about what's going to happen, you know, in 2018. It's going to be a big year for me. I think there's bigger things to come this year, and it's going to be a great year. I can tell you that much. You know, obviously I've got to wait for it to be released with EFC. Graham's got to, you know, do his post and announce it. So unfortunately, I'm tongue-tied until then. But I can tell you one thing, that whatever fight's put in front of me, I'll make sure that I'm focusing on that fight, and I'm giving the fans the best show that they can possibly see. And like we've just been through now, I'm focusing on getting better every day, so that when it's finally announced and it's set in stone and I've been given a fight and I show up on the night, I'm ready no matter what's put in front of me. So that's really just my focus, is obviously keeping the belt, because we're going to be put against international fighters, and I want South Africa, you know, to have the belt, and, you know, I want to defend it. I don't just want to be a champion for a moment. I want to be a champion, you know, for a lifetime, and I want to be getting better and putting myself up against great opponents and testing myself constantly. So, you know, I'm looking forward to what happens this year. I know there's going to be some big contestants that are coming up. There's going to be people wanting to grab the belt, and I'm just going to work my hardest and make sure that I keep it, because I obviously want to stay on top, and I want to prove myself, or to myself, that I'm worthy of being a title holder.
Absolutely, and will the
So yeah, unfortunately I can't say anything, but I can guarantee you there's massive things coming into it, and it's going to be great for EFC and fans.
That's not a problem. I understand that 100%. Is it how exciting is it for you to be able to defend your belt back in your hometown? Assuming that's what's going to happen.
Well, look, I mean, it's always exciting to be in front of the Durban fans. For me, I feel like we don't often get fights in Durban, and I think the fan base here and the fans are just crazy in Durban. Like, they really are. The atmosphere in Durban is phenomenal. So, it is a lot more pressure, I think, fighting in your hometown, because you've obviously got a huge backing, and it's always a lot of pressure. But for me, I'm lucky. Then that means that I have more of my friends, more of my family here. It's on my my home turf. So it's always a pleasure being in Durban and competing. And I think being able to defend my title and defend the flyweight title for the first time, will be another big moment, and I get to share it with my family, my friends back home, and the fan base. So it's always great. I mean, the fans here are fantastic. To have your family and your friends around, because when you're traveling, not everyone gets to travel with you.
Sure.
So it's always cool to be able to share those moments with as many people as you possibly can. So that's important for me.
Absolutely. And my last question is another opponent one. It seems that Shana Power is now on her way back to competing. She's said a few times in a few different sources that she's looking to get back in there. Is that someone you consider to be still to be a title contender, and is that a fight you would be interested in down the line?
No, there's so much talk about me and Shayna. I think everyone, kind of enjoyed playing us against each other. And, if she decides that she wants to come back, if she does make the comeback, then, yeah, I mean, if she wants to come in and try and get the title from me, I'm happy to fight her. I've always wanted to compete against her. But I feel like she needs to make her way back up in the ranks if she does decide to come back. I personally think if she's battled to make the weight, and if she's got medical reasons that she can't make the weight, then possibly a higher division, the bantam division will be better for her. She feels that she needs to stay in flyweight, and that's how she feels, and that's what her team feels. Then she knows where I am. She can come and fight if she wants to fight for the title. At the end of the day, I'm looking at who I need to compete against, in each fight. So I'll be honest with you. Look, I'm happy to fight her. She's always claimed that she's the best, and for some reason she's got beef. So I'm happy to fight her and kind of squash that ongoing beef that everyone has created. For me, after the whole, obviously she had medical reasons or whatever from when we were supposed to fight in Sun City. I've always looked at finishing that fight and and kind of ending it and squashing whatever we need to, and having the fight. So I'm always looking for it. But like I said, I'm going to focus on who I need to fight. Whoever Graham puts in front of me, I'll fight. But yeah, I mean, let's see. There's talk that she's coming back, and let's see what happens in the future.
Absolutely. Well, Amanda, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we can't wait to hear the next fight announcement. I'm sure it's going to be still a little while from now, but we're getting closer, and that's what matters. And good luck for everything, and hopefully we get to see you back in there real soon, and all the best for your upcoming fights, and we'll chat to you soon, and thank you again for your time.